This has been one of my most anticipated space games of 2022. The sheer aesthetic of Ixion is really something to behold and is very evident in this short cinematic you can see on screen right here. The game is, to all intents and purposes, a city builder. However, it takes place across multiple star systems with a star map and spaceships all included. And as you can also hear, the soundtrack is absolutely stunning. The game, released on the 7th of December, is now available on Steam for PC at a price of, I believe, $29.99. That's UK pounds, British pounds. The big question for me then, has all my anticipation for this been worth the wait? Well, let's take a look. So, heads up right up front, this is not a full review and should not be considered as such. It is instead my impressions and overall feelings towards the game after playing the initial segments of the game, the first few hours or so. And for those regular watchers of this channel, you will know that tends to be the way I do things here. So yeah, conveying some impressions here without deep diving too far into the depth of the game and spoiling that content. So as you can see, we are here inside the massive space station known as the Tiqqon. We saw it doing a faster than light jump just a moment ago. There are some story elements to that. I don't want to spoil too much of it. There will be a few spoilers here you will have seen already, of course. But these segments are right at the start of the game. Any more story-focused stuff I don't really want to show too much of. So, the space station is split into a number of different segments or sectors. Right here, we are right at the start in the Sector 1. We can build this out with different elements, different buildings, different resource points, and different factories. Now, in general concept, Ixion shares a lot with Frostpunk. As we move through this video, those of you who have played Frostpunk will probably notice some similarities. Now, in addition to the interior view of the station here, this is just Sector 1, we can also, as they unlock later in the game, view Sectors 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We also have an exterior view of the station where we can do a few other functions. This allows us to build things like solar panels, for example, which increases the available power supply for our station. We can then zoom out and take a look at the star map. Here we're in the solar system and you can see the very famous Earth and its moon. In the center we've got the sun. From here then, we can manage all sorts of activities, which includes sending out probes as well as fully managing our fleet and what those various ships get up to. Now, as an example of that, on screen right here, you can see me using the probe scanner. As we move around the star system with the cursor here, we can locate particular resources. Once we've found what we want, we can then send a probe out to go in search for that. After that, we can send a mining ship there, a cargo ship, or a science ship, depending upon what we actually find. Each of these will contribute towards our station's overall success. Now right here we can see the fleet management section. We can manage what our mining ship is heading out and mining and what our cargo ship is collecting. So all of these resources are what is needed to help maintain a smooth flow inside of our station. Right here, I'm about to build a steel mill. This is required to develop the necessary commodities to repair the hull integrity. You can see the hull integrity at the top of the screen on the red bar there. It's starting to get a little bit low. So hull integrity within the Tiqqon will decrease for every cycle of the game. If it gets too low, the station will tear apart and be destroyed. That will mark game over. So very important to maintain some hull integrity here. Now this brings me on to one aspect of the game that I wasn't too keen on, not overly impressed with, and that is the nature of the tutorial. Now the tutorial is pretty good overall. It gives you information at the top of the screen in terms of objectives to complete. So feed the crew, repair the Tiqqon, a new home, a Tiqqon industry, and along with the question mark in the middle left of the screen, which takes you to some tutorials, text-based ones, and the notifications below that. All of these combine together to give a pretty good flow of the gameplay. However, in this particular case, building the steel mill, which is the first mention of this, what the game doesn't tell you is that to do this, you also need an electronics fabricator, and for that, you also need silicon as a resource. So this is all stuff you have to learn over time and often by failure. It's of course no real problem early on in the game if you're only half hour in, no real problem to backtrack 10-20 minutes to an earlier save and correct your mistake. But as you get further into the game, this could become an increasing problem. Now right here on the screen we're seeing a discovery I made with one of my probes. This is a science objective, asteroid belt, they call it mine. So we found an abandoned facility and we've got some options down the bottom as to what we may want to try with this facility. We could dismantle a part of the facility, force entry into the control center, or simply leave. Each of these actions requires cycles. The top one requires 3, the second one requires 2. Once that's complete, then we will get to see the outcome. Sometimes that will be beneficial, other times not so much. Now, as with other games like this, we also have a tech tree. This allows us to research other technology, other buildings and all that lovely stuff. Research, of course, requires research points or science points. These can be accumulated by a lab over time at 1 point per cycle, but the bulk of your points will come from discoveries out in space, which usually happen either via your science ship or via the probe. Elsewhere within the game, you will from time to time get requests from the people that live within your station. These can be requests from residents who are not too happy with the condition of their place. Maybe they want improved accommodations. Other times it may be requests from the workforce. Maybe they're not too happy. For example, right here, we can see a request from Tiqqon Industry who want me to restore full hull integrity in, 3 cycles. They initially gave me 30 cycles. We're about to run out right here. So this request, unfortunately, I'm going to completely fail. That will reduce their trust in me as their administrator. If the trust falls too low, we can see it's currently quite high, the blue bar at the top of the screen, but if it falls too low, then again, that is a game over scenario. So that is a few of the very basics of Ixion as it stands in the early sections of the game. As you progress, you will find increasing complexity. This gets unlocked through other elements of the game that you will be required to partake in, as well as once you get access to the additional sectors. You can see right here, things aren't going too well for me. This is due to the aforementioned problem that I wasn't expecting the full supply chain needing to be met in order to build this steel mill. But yeah, live and learn. Later on, I did a much better playthrough. But I really wanted to show this particular session as it highlights what I feel to be one of the problems with the game. That said, it's one of the problems that are few and far between. There's very few of them. In fact, overall, the game has a great ambience, a great gameplay, and, well, it's very well designed. For me, the wait for Ixion has been very much worth it. I didn't play it back during Steamfest when the demo was available, so this really was my first encounter with it, and yeah, very pleased with what I have, the aforementioned problems aside. Again, keep in mind this isn't a full review, but just my initial impressions, but what I see, I definitely like. At any rate, if you've got Ixion or you want to try it out, do let me know in the comments section below. What are your thoughts on this particular type of game? As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.